This is the most complete retrospective of the work of Jean-Michel Basquiat, the first large one in a European museum, because it has all the major works from the different periods of his oeuvre, starting with the very early work and ending with the one that he finished shortly before his early death at the age of 27.
Stand up and let's fight. Let's make it right. Stand up and let's fight. Let's make it right.
In different way, he was working in a time where conceptual and minimal art was the consensus in the art world. He referred back to artists like Picasso and Dubuffet, and he was interested in what Twombly and Rauschenberg were doing. He was an artist who was capable of bringing together the most different source of information, both from his personal life, but also from media, from art history, and bringing this all together. His art is also mixing imagery with words, with signs, with symbols, and all together to create a very powerful and energetic message about living in New York in the 80s.
Stand up and let's fight. Let's make it right. Stand up and let's fight. Let's make it right.
Well, street culture was important to him, especially in his early work. But he shouldn't be confused as a graffiti artist. He was a real artist. That was just one of many influences that he had. Art history was just as important, and popular life. He was also a musician. He was also a poet. He was even an actor. So he was a hypersensitive person who would absorb whatever was around him. Many of his friends said he wasn't about death, he was about life. He was very charismatic, he was a very positive, powerful person, enthusiastic even. But they said he was also very vulnerable and sensitive, and also, of course, suffered that sometimes. I don't think the drugs is the main component of him. Of course it had an influence, but I think it would be diminishing a lot just to looking at him as just a drug-taking rebel. One has to see that he had to fight a lot in New York in the 80s. Was a very harsh environment. Being the first black artist to have international success, and this at this very young age and very fast, was a very difficult and challenging thing and that preoccupied him a lot. But I do think that he was from very young on, he was a pure artist, and there was always this what he wanted to do. And even his father told me that since he was young, he couldn't stop drawing, and he was always an artistic person. I think it was important for both of them. Basquiat was very young, but he was already a successful artist when they really collaborated and when they did work together. Warhol met Basquiat when he was very young and not so successful, but they became really close when both were accomplished artists. Basquiat brought Warhol back to paint again, and Warhol brought Basquiat into using serigraphy and in his own paintings. Basquiat was a kind of elder friend, bigger brother, and you know, being an artist is a lonely thing, and it's good to find a soulmate. But it would be diminishing and wrong to look at Basquiat as a younger Warhol. In fact, they're in many ways very different, and maybe that was what was very inspiring to them. The one thing we can say in his very short time of 7 years, or 8 years that he was working, he was leaving a work of a lifetime, and he was changing in that time, and he was working in painting, he was working in drawings, and he was working in sculptures. He was able to mix expressive painting with pop art and with element of conceptual and appropriation art. So it's hard to imagine Jean-Michel Basquiat stopping his development, as his development every year or other year would continue. It is also true that he was a visionary also in the way how he, in his methods. If you think that, for example, he is using things that later become important in rap, hip hop music. For example, the sampling techniques, also the scratching techniques that he is using to extinguish words. Even the word singing itself is something that is part of his painting. Jean-Michel Basquiat also is a precursor to the internet generation. He is somebody who is using the cut and paste of different sources to bring together. Also somebody who is relying everything to each other, so the kind of network and interconnection in the internet work is something that interested him. He participated in film and in music projects. I could well imagine him to have gone somewhere where we can not even think of. But what we have is his work, and as you can see in this large exhibition with 150 works, he created enough for us to admire in the very short time that he was in this world.